Hi everyone, Mature Simmer here. So welcome to the farm. I'm going to get some crops in the ground, but before that I'm going to get last year's crop sold. So I have 212,825 liters of oats. So if we go over to the FSN site and direct sell oats, we can see we're going to get $710.61. And if we look at oats here, you can see we're just at 500, and the highest level it's been is 647. So that's some of the research I do. So I'm going to go ahead and finalize and sell. Now today I am doing things frankly backwards, but again, I've got a short window right now to get things done, and also this is simply 3 runs of the trailer over to customs, and customs is really close. So it's not as if I've got 10 loads that I need to get over or anything like that. So I should be able to do this in a matter of minutes, and therefore I at least know I have the contract out there, and then I can just focus on what I need to do in the whoops, I'm in the wrong location. I think, yeah, I'll circle around. I can't pour in here. I've got to be in the other bay. But yeah, normally we'll want to have transported the material to customs and then place the contract on the chance that someone pops in immediately. Be just my luck that will happen, but also just given how things have worked recently, I'm not honestly thinking that that will be the case. So just double checking. You can see stop filling up on top. We'd also be able to see if I had a limiter on the trailers. I thought I had cleared it out, knowing... Actually, I think I cleared it out because of the fact that I was harvesting. So little bit challenging to get in, so I think I'm going to back out once I fill up here. And we'll just obviously be a little more careful when we come in and come around. So I'm going to go ahead and plant some sort of grain. Once again, we are, FS22 gives us so many, only so many crops to work with. So, I do have the reality of I need to work within the parameters of what's possible. Let me swing wide on the driveway here so that I don't get stuck on the trees, just like I got stuck on the edge of the silo. There we go. So we're free and clear, and we've got 80,000 liters heading over to customs of our 212. So, and as I said, I mean, we can almost see customs from here. It's through the trees. It's spring. The buds are sprouting a bit. So you'll have seen on the thumbnail, but if you somehow missed it, it's year 83 here, or 93. I'm missing it in my brain. I knew exactly what year it was. I don't know why 83 is what came out of my mouth, but so a few more years and we'll be at 100, which will be pretty impressive. So I think Rented had soybeans here. So the other change we have is field 12 is now occupied again. So JP, who's a previous FM on our server when we were in Seneca, I don't recall if he made the move here to Shellbrook. I do not think he did. I think he knew he needed to back off of FSN for a bit then, but he has now been ready to come back. So we've been chatting for a few weeks as he's returned, and then been doing what he needed to do to get into the ability to apply to be an FM again. So just trying to get set up here. Get both of these pouring out again. So good news is we're going to have some money at least coming in to the servers. So, but yeah, JP's up on, he's up here on 12. You can see he's gone ahead with yellow instead of green. I'm still trying to get 21 cloud. It's not been working out. Nobody's taking those contracts. The contract out there for that. I've tried a few times. Can't get anybody to go ahead and take that. But maybe one of these days I'll get to it. I wasn't able to get to 12 because, again, it was an auction, so there's always a challenge when an FM is coming on. I think I was given a day or two notice as to what field JP had selected, and I just didn't have time to get on and do anything. I had put a contract out for it, but nobody took it. So, doing what I can, but unfortunately, my reality is I am not able to do it as easily as I had been in the past. Alright, so we've got one truckload there. Again, trying to move along on the off chance somebody grabs a contract. And again, given that it's spring, we may have more people taking a peek. So there is that possibility. But I'm going to get these over, and then we'll pop back when I'm starting to do the planting. So I'll see you in a bit. Alright, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get some pigs sold. So luckily I picked the right order this time, so I was able to get 24, and then obviously the max would be 12 for the next batch that only had 12, but that's the quickest way to load the truck. But at this point, as opposed to the last time I tried to do this, I am leaving with pigs. So last time I tried to do some pig sales, I suddenly was about here and realized, I may have actually been a little further and realized I didn't actually load the truck. But that was because I was waiting for them to get their health up when I had originally come and done it, and then assumed I had them in the truck and just hadn't finished or something. But so oats are sitting in customs. I did verify there are no other crops in customs. I do miss the digital boards we had in FS19 where you could just go look. So I would normally, my process would be while my grain was pouring out of the truck or my crop was pulling out of the truck, I would run over and look at the board and just, obviously you could get a quick visual in a second of if there are 3 crops in there or something, as opposed to having to cycle through everything. But at this point we still have to use, I guess, the poor technological man's version of pull up and go ahead and cycle through every crop and see what's there while you have a truck underneath the output. In essence, where you're playing as if you're trying to load the truck, even though that's not your intent. You just want to know what's in there. So it's a key example of the gap that I mentioned of things, of the model of continually going ahead and updating the game with a new game when you frankly don't need to do that. Is that we've got mods now very close to a year out that were very helpful and very crucial, but they're not available again. And I wouldn't think they were that terribly complex to make work, since they're just display boards and they connect to, I'm sure, just data that says what's in a silo in some proximity. But I don't have the skill set at this point to do anything with it. Although that may be one of these days, if I get the curiosity bug, I may try it, because I know other people have gone ahead and taken old mods they really enjoyed and updated them so that they could work in FS22. And that would seem to be simple enough. It's not a vehicle or a map or anything like that. It's a simple placeable object. Alright, so here we are at the animal dealer. Let's get these pigs sold. Alright, this one now I need to go all the way up. Alright, there we go. So we continue to hover around 1 million, so I'm clearly in somewhat of a break-even cycle at this point. Now keep in mind, I haven't had to buy any supplies. I think that cycle is going to shatter once I do that. But obviously I've got crop sales, which then I could transfer things in. So what I've settled on is I think I'm going to go ahead and, well, I don't think, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plant barley. I think it's a good plentiful grain at this point. Unless I wait another day, I have to plant a grain. The other crops aren't able to be planted until April. But I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then the other piece that I'm banking on, and it'll be what it'll be, is I think barley takes a little longer because oats took 4 growth cycles. I think barley's one of those that takes 6. And given the timing of my availability for harvest, 4 would not be, I won't be available in 4. I have the same window, I think. It just, the oats would be ready faster, and this also then gives me a little bit of an ability to more slowly do the other jobs if I need to do that. Because once again, today, I'm not even sure that I'm going to be able to get the whole field planted. I'm certainly going to try to do that, and I definitely would like to get the weeds sprayed for, but spraying usually isn't too terribly bad. It's a little over, it's usually between 1 hour and 2 hours, so I think I'll be able to squeak that in. I don't need lime on the south field, so that's something I've learned, and that's a job that's in the back of my mind as something that is necessary here this year, is to get that north end of the field limed so that next year when I move back up there I have that ready and I don't have the issue I did now where I likely took a pretty good hit on my oats. And if I remember, I may just redo oats up there next year and see what the situation is, because at that point also I think the problem is I'm changing 2 variables, because I'll have limed and I will have potentially sprayed at the correct time, although I suppose I could leave the spraying alone, but I don't want to leave the lime alone, because I do think that was why I only got 60% off that field. So let me get this parked, let me get the seeder together, and I'll meet you out at the field. Alright, so getting my seeder out here. get it staged and ready to fill up. So we need what, 538 liters of seed, and then I don't know, about 6,000 of fertilizer. So I'm going to go ahead and get my auger, get that filled up, or at least close to it. So got that parked in the woods, that's right. Forgotten about that. I don't remember if I emptied it. I think I did. If not, we'll obviously use what we have in there and go forward from there. But I'll do the seeds first if it's not. Just backed into it a little hard. Alright, so we have nothing. Alright, so 5,038, if I did my calculation right. If I didn't, I guess I'll be off somewhat, and we'll see what happens, but there we go. Alright, so we'll get the seeds. There we go. Very quick little bit there. And then again, about 6,000 or 7,000. I can probably sell that dolly, because I don't think I'm going to use the tractor to pull a trailer anymore. I think I was keeping that around in the event that I needed somebody to do some work on something, but I just don't know what that would be at this point. It's just another piece of equipment that I can stop worrying about. Let's see. Alright. That's not a good sign. Is that... Did I totally misestimate this? Did I just need 538? It's probably accurate. Seeds are definitely full, so... Alright. A little bit of a math error on my part this morning. So we'll go put that back, and we'll get ourselves some fertilizer. I think I probably did say 538, and my brain was like, it can't be such a tiny amount of seed, so it wanted more. But now that I think about it, there's only 11,000, and if I needed 5,000 something, that would have required pretty much one of the hoppers to be empty, so shame on me. There you go. Come on, you're pouring in. Alright, it's just gonna mess with me. See, the nice thing here with the auger is it's small enough I can kind of manhandle it. Maybe. This is way more challenging than I was expecting. So, let me get that. Because we're going to want the auger to be there. There we go. And then we'll just keep backing it up to the fertilizer, which should be able to fill shortly. And I'll change the amount there. Oh goodness. This is ugly. So, I'm going to say 7,500. That should be enough. Alright, just want to make sure the right thing is filling. It is, it's fertilizer. Oh, I forget, it's this spot, actually. I was backing up to the other one, and I always get those mixed up. The ones that go to the ground are liquid, the ones on legs are solid. So, just always having a bit of a brain fart. Don't know why. It's just what I do. No, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get in here and then get out appropriately. Okay, I'll be able to get in here. It's just, again, as I said, getting out is going to be the challenge. I'm sure we're going to have more than we need. Yep. Alright, so let me tuck that away. Alright, well that worked out way smoother than I thought. I'm almost getting good at this. Alright, so now I can reconnect and we can get moving. Had it connected and then just went too fast. I wasn't ready for that speed. Alright, so get ourselves set. Get our GPS set. There we go. Get ourselves unfolded. And so, right around 8 a.m. is when we're going to start here. So, not a bad result. Alright. Need to get that lower down. And then we're going to begin planting. There we go. So, we'll be a little bit off the edge, which is okay. Oh boy, we've got some good lag going on here, so... Whoops. Shoot. Forgot to change to barley. I was starting to plant oats again, so hopefully I can remedy that. Just trying to hurry. Alright, so erring on the side of going a little bit further up here because otherwise I'm not going to have overlapped for certain, so I just want to be extra careful that I don't have some oats sprouting up somewhere, but I think we're going to be okay. So we'll have barley in there. So let me get this run across here. Just being really careful, kind of focusing my head on going down the field. It's been a while since I planted in March. Usually I'm doing it later in the year. So it is nice not having the trees filled out for being able to see through down to the field and make sure that I'm positioning myself more appropriately here. So we'll get this done, and then we're going to have again the partial row as we go across. Let me turn things off, and we'll turn around. So again, we're on field, I think 16. Field 39 is north of us. Question is this going to work, or is this going to, I think it's going to leave some on the other end, but I just want to get a good row going, and then we'll fix what we need to. Alright, so I'm trying to get back here to get what I need to get this last segment cleaned up. Had to go into the river way more than I typically like to do. Get everything turned on. I think we're going to miss a tiny bit up there, which is typically what happens, so I'll have to, as I swing back, we'll get that. I may miss some here too. So, just a lot of cleanup here this morning, but it's always a challenge when you're trying to get things to work. So let me just check the map, make sure we're all barley. Alright, well the good news is we're not oat. Oh yeah, I guess we are, so I'll have to, when I touch that up, I'm assuming then that will clean it up, but so I'm just going to have to be careful when I go back over it that I get all of it. Otherwise the problem will be it'll jam up the harvester when it grabs some of the oats in between, or worst case it'll like turn the harvester into oats, because sometimes Farming Simulator will do that, where you'll have something in a vehicle and you know, you pick something up and then suddenly it flips. I'm trying to think where that's happened, but usually it's with supplies. Like I think I've seen it in trucks where I've had like a tiny bit of fertilizer, say, and then I go grab lime, and then it basically just turns that fertilizer into lime. Alright. So if I go here, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and start. And problem is we're going to be basically dumping fertilizer, but you can see we do have some seeds now leaving, which is replanting over the oats with barley. And then obviously we have this segment that wasn't ready. So let's get this little piece. There we go. And then I'll run along the water's edge here so that I can have less of a swimming lesson when I turn things around. That should help. It's always a bit of a tap dance as I'm doing this. And then this is always the challenge, getting that one done correctly. It does not help when we're lagging, because when that's what happens. It just snaps loose, and depending on how far it thinks it's gone, it can get pretty ugly pretty fast. So, but that'll get a good starting point for me to then run the fields appropriately, just trying to be careful not to get into the other field, because obviously then I'd have to again plow over crops and things if I went too far or made a mistake. So it's one thing with lime or stuff like that where it's just nutrients for the field, but obviously if we suddenly plant something, that's not something we want. So this should give us enough here that I can appropriately do what I need. So let's see. Get ourselves straightened out. All good. So now we'll be planting full rows. Don't know why we're getting so much lag, but yeah, barley's falling out pretty fast. So I may need more weeds before I need more fertilizer. But if I use a couple thousand in fertilizer, I'll be able to then empty that. It's just a little more challenging to keep track of it at that point as far as for my financials. So normally I would prefer to not do that, so I'll see what I decide to do. At that point we'll certainly be, off camera, so if I'm doing a little bit of tap dancing just to make it easier for me, I may do that. So now that we're headed back this way, so if you recall field 39, well 12 or 39, obviously 12 is now off the table because it was taken by a new FM, but now we're in the situation where they may want to expand to 39, and I have chatted with them about the fact that since I hadn't gotten 8, I was somewhat thinking about 39, but I'm starting to wonder if frankly, it's a sign that I really should just stay away from expanding into cows and just leave well enough alone. Obviously last year I struggled just to keep up with crops, and if I had to do other things, it just might get a bit overwhelming and get irritating. So at this point in my head, I'm likely, if he expresses any interest in really taking 39, I may just say go ahead. I'm not gonna bid you on it. But at this point, what he said is we'll talk about it when it comes up. And some of it simply can be because, let's say, 16, which is the larger field down here, right across from me, I believe that's 16. No, that's 10. But let's say 10 comes up, and he grabs that, because he did explain to the FMs as he was introducing himself to the others who don't know him, that he likes to expand and keep his fields nearby if he can. So, what he may do is the same thing Swede was doing. When 21 comes available, he'll grab that. I know he's looking to expand the yard. He did buy the unnamed space, so when I turn around I'll show you what that is. I know he did put in a bid for that and bought that, and his intent is to put his farmyard in there. So he's not going to be stepping on the field. So likelihood is if he does get 21, which I would assume he would, that he would then square off that field, and where the silo was for Swede, he'd turn that into field again. At least, certainly that's what I would do in his situation, where I was trying to do things. Worried, yeah, that's 4 or 5 steps. I'm going to have a problem at the end, so I need to swing out further when I go ahead and work that. But the thought was, if he bought 10, say, and had a large piece of fields, and maybe he buys 21 too, and so then he's got large fields in his mix, and 39 becomes less interesting to him. So some of it's going to be dependent on just the luck of the draw and which plots come up for auction first. If his first opportunity to expand is going to be 39, my guess is he's going to want to take that. Whereas if he's got 2 or 3 other fields that he's already bought and expanded into, he'll go ahead and maybe say, yeah, go ahead and take it, and put grass in there, because again, he can then roll over it and he's not causing me any damage either. So this part here is one that he bought. Now it hasn't been awarded to him yet, as you can see. But he's also got 11 next to him that he can expand into, so there's definitely several fields in the surrounding area that I have no interest in. Like literally, for me it's kind of 39 or bust. I'm not considering any of the others because they're either too far away or too big. So 11's probably doable, but I don't want to be then going around 39 and 12, which aren't mine, to get to them. And that's where I would think, similar to my issue with wanting to buy 8 to just be able to traverse through it, that would be, if I'm in his shoes, my logic. And again, maybe I'm the only one that's like, hey, I want straight lines if I can as far as getting to things. I don't want to be wasting time driving around. I'd be perfectly fine letting him know, hey, if he owns 10 and he owns 12, like, hey, if you need to drive over the grass field, feel free. Like, it's not going to kill anything. So he's not going to have a crop problem. And I'm not in a position, except maybe in some very strange situation where I'm just going for, I want to maximize the growth and the crops that year for some reason, but I don't have any idea what that might be, because I can do both parts of 9 before I have to even delve into doing something else. And that would nearly double my output in a year just doing that with the field I have. So I'm pretty sure, 99.99% sure, that if I bought 39, it would permanently stay grass and it would be used for that. And I suppose I could step into things. So now I guess I'm trying to give myself some pros and talk myself into, I can ease my way into it, that I don't necessarily have to buy grass, with the intent that all I'm doing is jumping into cows immediately. I could do a silage business where I'm, baling and rolling and turning it into silage and just selling that to kind of ease into the ability of that. The difference is, a lot of times with dairy, you're just picking up the grass, throwing it in a bunker silo, and creating silage that way rather than doing wrapped bales. So, so then it would be kind of an investment in a wrapper that then might not play out. I don't know. As you can tell, it's not like I've got this compelling, super exciting thing that's driving me to do this, which is why, as I said, I'm pretty sure if he's like, if you don't want 39, I'll take it, I may simply very quickly step back and say, it's yours. I'm not going to stand in your way, because I'm not that enthralled with it. Alright, so at least I've got a cleaner piece here. I won't have to touch anything up. At least I don't think I will, where clearly on the other pass this way that I had started, I knew I had a problem when I'd come back. So, got to run a couple more across here before we start going north-south. And then once again, the other job for today would be spraying. So I'm going to go ahead and work on these as I can, because I'm actually at the point where in the next few minutes I've got to step away anyway. So that was what I wanted to share with you as far as happenings around the FSN community and the server specifically, and how it functions in FSN. So the other piece I guess I didn't mention when I was delivering the oats is I just wanted to remind folks I now have two options. I can direct sell, which is what I'm doing, where I'm basically selling to the FSN universe and selling my oats there, which was a little bit more than selling on the server, which is my other option. We used to have a third option, which was send to warehouse, and that option is still there, but what occurs now that has been removed is the ability to transfer funds from the meta or the entrepreneurs side, which is the non-farming side, back to the farming side, has now been removed to kind of really distinctly separate the two pieces. And then the explanation there for management was just a fairness thing. They felt it was too easy to make a lot of money over there, and you know, they weren't, like, the wording wasn't specifically that, hey, you can, because you can make, instead of say $700 per 1,000 liters on oats, you know, that I'm getting in direct sell, you could make 800. So that extra 100 is somehow the tipping point. That wasn't really what was specifically being said. It was just, it's so easy to make money, vast amounts of money on the meta side, that they felt it made it unfair for those farmers who didn't play in meta if they continued to allow movement of funds from meta. And so I'm guessing it was simpler than saying, well, you can still do resource exchange for crops, because I think people can do that in meta without farming. Like, they can just buy crops from other people, and they can be doing, in essence, a commodity business, not a commodity broker where they're buying things from FSN farmers, but that they're buying and selling product and trying to make a profit that way. And, you know, I'm sure some people do that, and there would be no way to separate those. I think that would be a programmatic coding nightmare. And so rather than do that, the simplest solution was just resource exchange is going to be in meta, because it exists for meta for the most part, because there's other resources that aren't farming related, like all the minerals and mining things. And so that allows a separation. And so I could send things to warehouse, which is what I did with my previous crop. The problem is now that money is sitting in meta, and it cannot move back here. So I've got, you know, over 500,000 in meta that I frankly really don't need, because I was going to move it, you know, all the crop sales over, but I can't. So that is why I made the decision I made on the oats, because I've basically got two options now. So it makes it a little simpler. You know, and I'm also not waiting for the 30 days. I mean, I still have to wait for someone to grab the customs contract, because we can't do it ourselves before I see that money, but hopefully at some point, you know, that will happen, and then I'll be able to transfer that money if I want back here, which I probably will do, at least the money from this sale at a minimum, because it's not going to be that substantial. I mean, it's less than 1,000, so I'm making less than 200,000 on those crops. And with what I put into it in supplies, you know, it's probably just barely $100,000 in profit. So it's not as if I'd be moving a lot in here. But that gets us all caught up. So I'm going to keep doing what I need to here, and I'll be back at some point. So I'll see you in a bit. Alright, so I am here. We'll go ahead and apply the herbicide and get the weeds taken care of. So I consumed about $20,000 of supplies. That's both between fertilizer and seeds. So that's what's gone into this field so far. Obviously the herbicide is going to be a little more. The profit on the oats looks like it should be about 117,000, so a little more than I thought, but you know, kind of right around where I thought things would land. So I am going to go ahead and get this field sprayed, and that will be the work for today. I'm going to need to fertilize. The pigs have about 7,000 liters of food in total, so that should be okay to get them through to tomorrow, I believe. But I may choose to just feed them as well. I'm not sure. See how things go. But that gets you up to speed on what's happening at Misty Hills right now. Just kind of continuing to farm. That's the nature of what happens here in FSN. It's just keep things going. And the decision I'll have more at the end here is, do I sell this entire barley crop, or do I hold on to some of it for future pig feed? But I think I've got plenty, because I'm still consuming my wheat, and then the last time I had planted barley was because someone suggested it was a good thing for pig food because of the volume. So I knew it would be a high yield crop, or one of the higher yielding ones that I have available to me, which is why I decided to go ahead and work with it at this point. But, you know, we'll see from a profit standpoint if it makes sense if I go ahead and sell it, what it looks like. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode, and I will see you next time.